Now, the end of Wano is definitely a point of interest for a lot of people in the community right now. And even Nagamine, the director of the One Piece anime, said that this arc is going to have a very surprising ending. So I think a lot of us are expecting something special, but I do think that there is one big misconception in terms of Luffy's status at the end of Wano and moving forward from there. And that is that Luffy will become a Yonko, which was an idea that I was kind of open to in the early stages of Wano. But the more things you realize about the setup Oda has done throughout the course of like the post time skip, and especially during the events of the Reverie where certain things were said, I don't think anybody is going to become a Yonko from this point forward. Now granted, you could say that Luffy is already a Yonko because of what happened on Whole Cake Island with Big Mom, but again, we do also have to realize that that was Luffy's reputation being boosted to its utmost limits by Morgan, because in reality Luffy isn't really a Yonko, and we see that from the other Yonkos sort of not acknowledging Luffy, in which that they don't believe in this fifth Yonko, right? We have Big Mom saying that she really never got defeated. We have Blackbeard saying that Straw Hat isn't ready and it's too soon for Luffy. And we even have Shanks. Now, even though Shanks said that we may meet soon, I think he was just more so acknowledging that Luffy was getting stronger and stronger, which is why he said soon. You're getting there, but it's not now. So when it comes to Luffy becoming the fifth Yonko after Whole Cake, it doesn't really seem very credible in terms of the other Yonkos' perspective, and of course to that of the readers as well. But in the world of One Piece, people may consider Luffy an actual Yonko, like the citizens. But before we keep going, I would appreciate it if you dropped a like and subscribe if you're new here. Now, realistically speaking, before coming into Wano, I think at that point in the story, Luffy was actually the person that was closest to the Yonkos, right? Meaning that if you remove the Yonkos from the story, Luffy would or might essentially be the biggest pirate in the seas. And this is not only just based on his crew alone, but also the force that he amassed during Dressrosa. And it's very funny because these people have chosen to follow him unconditionally because Luffy doesn't even want any sort of armies within his forces, right? And just as, you know, the parallels dictate, his crew shares a lot of similarities to Roger's crew, whereas the Roger pirates only consisted of the individuals on his ship. He might have made a few friends here and there, but for the most part, his crew was just that one ship. And we actually saw this during the Ed War when he fought Shiki. It was 1 against 1,000 ships, right? Pretty much. And so Luffy kind of takes that from Roger. They weren't tied by anything. They just sailed the seas, free to go wherever and whenever. And this ties to how Luffy will never become a Yonko. Now, obviously, for Luffy to surpass Roger, he's definitely going to need some help, even though he doesn't want it, which is why we have the Grand Fleet, as it has been stated that these individuals will cause a great event later on in the story. And interestingly enough, even though Luffy doesn't want to rule over anybody, people still gravitate towards him and choose to follow him unconditionally. We've seen this time and time again throughout the course of the story. But going back to Luffy being a Yonko, so a lot of people were kind of taking Luffy's bounty after Whole Cake to be a setup for Luffy to become an actual official Yonko after this arc is over. And discussion about other new Yonkos being born was brought up as well, such as individuals like Kid, because he's somewhat of a subpar rival to Luffy in some sense. So because Kaido is going down, we expected a new Yonko to be born, but I do not think that this is the case. Again, after the build-up that's been sort of foreshadowed since the Reverie, it's not looking to be very plausible after Wano. But I do think that it was a very smart move for Oda to make Luffy a mock Yonko after Whole Cake, and I think this is something that was meant for us as readers. The title of Yonko has been so prestigious in the show that we've always wondered at what point in the story was Luffy going to get that title and how hype it was going to be. And it was hype. One Piece chapter 903 was definitely one for the books, and seeing our boy Luffy sort of transcend to the playing field where a lot of the top tiers are at was amazing. So I feel like this was a chance that Oda felt like he couldn't miss out on to give out some hype to Luffy. So he gave Luffy the title of Yonko after Whole Cake because he knew that there wasn't going to be any more chances after Wano. And again, this is not only due to the series getting closer to its climax, but also an idea that has remained consistent with Luffy's character throughout the course of the story, and that is Luffy's idea of being free. Now, what is a Yonko first and foremost? Now, the Yonko are the 4 biggest pirates in the New World, and these pirates have amassed army-like forces and amassed a lot of islands occupied as their territories. And depending on which Yonko, they're always looking for ways to become stronger to reach the goal of becoming the Pirate King. I should mention there's few exceptions to this rule, and those are Whitebeard and Shanks. They seemingly don't care about that, but for the other Yonkos, this applies 100%. Now, even though they've been stationary for many years, they've always had the ambition to reach the heights of the Pirate King, but couldn't do so because of a lot of obstacles in their way. So becoming a Yonko comes with the mindset that you want to conquer and take over islands to build your empire. Now, I would imagine that this is sort of the conqueror Kid would become, and it kind of ties into his parallel with Shiki, but this mentality is something that you would never see within Luffy, because Luffy does not have the mindset of a conqueror, even though he has conquerors. And again, it goes back to sort of what your will embodies. For someone like Kaido, perhaps things like conquest, war, and strength are things that he wants to conquer, but for Luffy, it's things like freedom and having the ability to sort of save people from suffering, and obviously that ties into Joy Boy as well. But again, kings come in all different shapes and forms, and it isn't just conquering literal things, but also conquering ideas like freedom and strength. And so you would never see Luffy do what the Yonkos are doing. And he even says this to Rayleigh, whereas he doesn't want to conquer anything, and that one of his reasons to become the Pirate King was to become the freest individual in the sea, therefore, and in a sense, conquering freedom itself. And it also kind of ties into Luffy not wanting the responsibility of ruling, because he doesn't want to be tied down by something, and that's why he was opposed to the idea of the Grand Fleet serving under him. Luffy views each of his crewmates just as being as important as himself. He isn't tied down by anything and thus is free. And honestly, that makes Luffy such a fascinating character, because King's Haki is a sign of one who has the qualities of a king. People who have this haki are supposed to rule and stand above others, yet we have Luffy in some sense contradicting that, but yet it makes a lot of sense. In terms of Luffy's idea on what being the Pirate King is, you are literally not bound to anything, which ultimately makes you the freest. Luffy will become a person who has conquered the idea of freedom, and in a sense that also makes Luffy the king of being free. He stands at the top of being the freest individual in the world. So after Wano, I would imagine that Luffy would be kind of similar in status as Roger was back in his time, a great pirate, and his transition from there would be the Pirate King. Now, something else I didn't mention was the state and condition of what the One Piece world would be after Wano, considering if Kaido gets defeated. And this also adds into why Luffy will never get that title, because I think the system will be broken after Wano, and it ties into several other things that I want to talk about, like Blackbeard and Shanks, the Great Cleansing, and the overall state of the One Piece world after Wano. But this will be for another video because there's more to be said there. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Do you think Luffy will become a Yonko after Wano, or do you agree with me? Comment down below what you guys think. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. You can follow me on Twitter at Pharaohspace, and again, subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. It is Pharaoh, and I will see you folks later. Peace.